good.
Going live. You're live, sir.
Okay, call meeting order 11. Please join us for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Chairman Cicconetti?
Present.
Trustee Hillier?
Present.
Trustee Power?
Present.
Okay. I need a motion to continue the public hearing for zoning case 2023-0001-ZC, proposed map amendment that proposes to amend the FPUD zoning of 11 parcels, which consists of approximately 378 acres of land to be developed into a mixed-density residential development at 436 Casement Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Need a motion to approve the minutes from April 4, 2023 meeting?
So moved.
Wait a second. Did you continue that meeting?
I did. Yes, I need a motion to continue.
Okay. All right. My apologies. Where are we at now?
Approve the minutes. He motioned.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Summary of the work session, please.
Reminder that the NOPEC Town Hall is April 25th, 7:30 at Concord Township Hall. The fire chief discussed computer upgrades at Station 3, part-time wages, upcoming events including the Auburn Safety Forces Job Fair, active shooter training, and they also received a picnic table donation from Lily's 22 Ice Cream Shop. Service Department discussed ditch cleaning requests, littering signs, the participation in the Mardi Gras Parade, plumbing expenses at the service garage, and summer help that we still don't have. And then the Planning and Zoning Department discussed
Ask that question.
Charlie's drive-through and some other retainage areas.
Did you? I apologize if you did. Did you mention the executive session?
Oh, no, I skipped over that because
Okay.
it was such a blur. We met at 8 a.m. in executive session to discuss employee compensation in both the fire department and administration, employee discipline, and the purchase or acquisition of property for public use.
Okay. Moving on. Any old business from the floor? This is if you had something.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Bo Rich. Once again, I've been living in Painesville Township for going on 34 years.
Address for the record.
1165 Dorothea Drive.
Thank you.
And once again, I worked at the Nuclear Power Plant in the security department for over 35 years, and I retired from there. The last meeting that I was at, I stated some concerns that I had with the evacuation. And they stated that I talked to the emergency coordinator, Joe Busher, and he addressed his evacuation plan with me. And the concerns that I have after speaking to Mr. Busher, I was wondering if they were addressed, because I did speak to Mr. Hillier, did state that he wanted to talk to Joe, and I just wanted to go over those concerns one more time, since we had a little time to think about that and go over that. I was wondering if there's any answers on some of the questions that I had. The first one we're going to talk about is in case we had a violent attack or a nuclear emergency at the power plant. Okay, I was informed that the Lake County Sheriff's Department is going to take care of all the traffic concerns. So they're going to be directing traffic during this emergency. And I explained that there's an agreement, there's a response agreement with the Sheriff's Department in case we do have a violent attack or emergency at the plant, that a lot of their manpower is going to be used up, and their thoughts and basically any kind of thought that's going to be going into the plant is going to be with the Sheriff's Department as far as taking care of the situation. My question is, okay, how is this going to be implemented?
So we do have a representative from the sheriff's office. So maybe once you get through your concerns, we can address that. So
Exactly, and I talked to the sergeant before that, and because you know, how is this gonna be implemented? Mr. Hillier, you were confident with the emergency coordinator's, answers when you spoke to him as far as how he's gonna handle that?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So my question is, how is this gonna be implemented? How much manpower is it gonna need? And where are these people gonna be posted for this to be done correctly? Okay, if you have a plan, we need to know how it's implemented. So it's gonna be done correctly. Excuse me. Okay, that's the one point that I brought out the last time. The second point was the Mr. Busher said that he stated that he's going to make roads one way. So basically, Madison Avenue would be a one-way road, so that we can go ahead and get people out of there quickly. Okay, and my concern with that was that to make a road one way, there's a lot of planning that goes into that. It's just something you can't just say we're going to make a road one way, because it's going to be a disaster. The residents on that road need to be on board with which way to go. All the roads leading into that road need to be posted so that everybody knows the proper way to go. You get one or two vehicles going the wrong way, and it's going to be a disaster. Okay? And the other thing is that, do we really want to do this? Because if you're not home, and if you need to get back home, if you have a loved one at home, family members, what have you, okay, if you need to get back there, how are you going to get back there? Okay, so do we really want to do this? Okay, so that was the one way. I just can't see how this can be implemented properly and safely. Okay, and the other concern that I have, and the last concern, and thank you for giving me some time here, which I stated before, was that when I talked to Mr. Busher, I said, if we have a disabled vehicle on the road, okay, how are we going to address that? He said, well, we'll get snow plows and we'll go ahead and push that vehicle right off the road. Once again, in theory, that works okay. But Bull Hall Road would be the road that my family would take, my neighbors would take to leave in case we had an emergency. And that road is a very poor evacuation road. I stated before that I went down that road and I saw pinch points. I saw natural terrain that is steep, that if we have a bottleneck down there, we are not going to be able to get any kind of vehicle out of there. If we have a disabled vehicle, basically if I'm going north, okay, on Bow Hall, okay, you have a slow set of railroad tracks, then the CSS track just above. In between that area, we have a lot of pinch points, and we have an area there with natural terrain that slopes down. Okay, so to try to get a vehicle through there, or if you have a disabled vehicle in that area there, it's going to be impossible to get that through there with the road as its current condition. Okay. We stated before that my feelings is that we need additional roads to go to the Route 2, because that would be our evacuation or area from that part of the township, the northern part of the township. Okay, so these are my concerns with the evacuation plan as is. Okay, now my understanding from the last meeting is that the contractors would be responsible for any upgrades or any new roads. Mr. Chickenady informed me on that would take place if and when this development will go forward. And I would like that information, okay, or those upgrades done before this goes forward. Because the safety of our township once again, I passed out the maps that showed the 5 mile evacuation zone, the NRC policy for evacuating in case we do have an emergency to plan is unique with the state being that there's only one other nuclear power plant in the state, and that's in Port Clinton. Okay, so we have a unique situation, and I think safety is our, I mean, is the number one priority for us. So I'm glad that there's a, Sergeant, maybe you can answer these questions for me.
So
Or
please,
some of
please
them.
address the comments up here, not to audience.
Well, I will, but
Okay.
but he's the one. Mr. Cicconetti didn't mention him before, so I just wanted to address him because I don't expect him to have all these answers.
I think I can kind of, at this juncture, without even having
Okay,
preliminary agreement agreed upon,
right.
and then once that preliminary agreement gets agreed upon, then each pod will be handled individually. So it would be extremely premature without even having an agreement to
Mhm.
even develop what you're asking for. Once the agreement's done, then once the pods start, that's when a traffic study is done. Then the county would require at that point, if any upgrades are needed, would then require the builder, the developer, the property owner, as we mentioned, to handle those upgrades. But those upgrades that are required will not be identified until they do a traffic study. Traffic study won't be done until agreement's done and the pods start construction. So we're about 4 steps ahead before we can even answer any of those questions for you.
And I'll step back.
Yes,
Just
and
one
I
thing.
understand.
The traffic studies will be done
Right.
before construction starts.
Right.
Very
Yeah.
good. Very good. But my understanding, from what I've learned, is that the traffic study does not recognize an evacuation. So we're unique once again to that situation. A traffic study, from what I've understood, is for general traffic, general concerns, what we have.
Mhm.
Okay, so it does not, okay, imply that.
But those upgrades could impact the size of roads, the directions of roads, additional roads. So in order to form an evacuation plan, you'd have to have all those improvements made first
Exactly.
to evaluate. So
Right.
that's what I'm saying. It's impossible for us to
Yes.
tell you answer these questions at this point until
Mhm.
once we get an agreement. Once they start developing pods, they come for that. Then they get their traffic study done before they form construction. At that point, then the sheriff's office can work with the safety, the directors there at the plant to develop those plans based on the roads. But at this point, we could not even begin to try to answer that question for you because there's so many variables until this thing is approved and construction starts and studies are done. We
Okay.
just couldn't. It wouldn't be responsible for us to do that.
I
this
understand
Can I
that.
comment though? So I know you've answered the question, but and I thought we clarified the points before, Mr. Rich. So with the sheriff posting where and how, that's predetermined through the Lake County Emergency Management with Mr. Busher. So they have all that. There's a binder. It's literally
I
this
need
thick.
to know how it's implemented. I don't want.
So
I don't
that's
want
not
to-
that's not something that the township does.
right.
That is a EMA or
but
sheriff's
this is
department.
a safety concern, and I would hope that we would address this and we would find out
So we are.
how it is implemented. I just, please don't tell me you're going to do something. Tell me how you're going to implement it.
Well, I can't tell you because we don't even know.
We don't implement it.
Number one, we don't implement it. But number two, they can't tell you how they're going to implement it until I think they see the final design of the development.
That's
road
fine.
road
That's fine.
improvements. So
That's
once
good. I got ya.
then I think once you get to that point,
Right.
then maybe you can get some of those answers. But at this point, it would be completely. We would have no idea responsibly to tell you the answer to that because we don't know
Right.
until we get later down the line.
Sure.
It's
You know,
it's just not.
Right, like my concerns were, what I stated before, is that there are some agreements that I don't know even if Mr. Busher knows because these are safeguard. As I said before, these are some of this like a top secret clearance in the military. Mr. Hillier would know that, so I don't even know if he was privileged to that as far as that goes.
What are you referring to?
I'm talking about the manpower that the sheriff is going to be dedicated to with a response agreement that goes to the nuclear power plant. They have a large amount of manpower and control that's going to be needed if we have a violent attack of the plant or a nuclear emergency. So if they're already going to be basically, sorry about that, if they're already their manpower is already going to one situation, going to this.
Well, so correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of the Ohio Revised Code and the responsibility and the power, so to speak, of the sheriff in a county is in the event of an emergency, the sheriff by default has jurisdiction and power to dictate even municipality law enforcement what they would do in the event. They essentially become in the county in charge of all law enforcement agencies in the event of an emergency. From my understanding of the Ohio Revised Code, that in the event of a major emergency, they're the coordinator of, okay, Painesville City Police, I need you to do this. North Perry Police, I need you to do this. The sheriff acts as a coordinator for all law enforcement agencies to assist in, again, from my understanding. So I would have to read that portion of the revised code again,
Sure.
but I've had read it in the past.
Sure.
That essentially it gives him power to dictate how other municipalities and other police agencies operate to help in that. He becomes the orchestrator essentially. So it's not just in the event of that emergency, it wouldn't just be the Lake County Sheriff's Office. You're talking North Perry, Perry Village, Painesville City. All of those police departments would then be an asset that the Sheriff's Office could deploy to help manage that emergency based on my understanding of the Ohio Revised Code. So it wouldn't just be just them. It would be all other local law enforcement would become part of that
He's
emergency
the chief
response.
law enforcement officer in the county.
Yes, correct.
Right, but the thing, once again, okay, they do have a commitment to the plant.
So, and we don't know about that. I mean,
That's the
we
reason
can-
why I'm bringing it up to your attention,
So-
so you understand that there's going to be a huge manpower
Sure.
that's going to be going to the plant, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, so that
Okay.
you do know about it.
So-
So that, when you make these decisions, when you see this, when you think of the safety of Painesville Township in the area, then please, that these
are in the
considered.
discussions.
Yes.
Okay.
As far as that goes, and I would like to know how these are going to be implemented.
Yeah, at this point we can't answer that.
Right.
Okay.
Eventually, as we
Yeah.
go on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fair
Thank you
enough.
so
Yeah.
much for your
No problem.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Good morning, I'm Fred Wheeler, 207 Elmar Drive. First, a couple quick thoughts. I could not make the last.
Yeah, we read your letter into the
And I appreciate that. I spoke to a Mr. Ishe,
Guy in the corner.
okay, yesterday on the phone. Thank you for your time. He indicated that, the letter did get read. But I also understand that there were members, and my letter pertained to the concern of the school board, how it would expand down the road because of the students and such. My concern was how that would happen and direction that would take. And we had a nice conversation last time about pod A, B, and C,
Right.
and that being probably less
the least impactful in
students and
right.
such. Now, I wasn't here, obviously. I spoke to a Mr. Platko on the phone previously for a period of time, and I understand there was another representative from the school board here at the last
Belinda
meeting.
Grassi, yeah, one of the board members.
Okay. Obviously, with the minutes being approved today, I did not read them or see them or have any comments. Just curious, did any of the representatives from the school board have any comments, suggestions, thoughts, any kind of feedback on?
Just real quick, first thing, if you want to know what happens in a meeting, you don't have to wait for the minutes. All of our meetings, like right now, is being live broadcast on YouTube.
Okay.
We have our own YouTube channel.
All right.
You can go there and you can view every meeting that we've happened immediately
Okay.
after it finishes.
And yeah, that's what he told me.
So if you
yesterday.
wanted to hear what they had to say, but at this point, again, without
And minutes are just a summary, too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the minutes are not as detailed as you would get out of watching the video.
correct, it's not like a transcript. per
Right,
se.
right.
So there, at this point, I think it approaches the same thing that at this point they really can't say because they don't know specifics on what's happening when.
So basically, there were just no comments then.
Yeah, I mean, they said well that they're happy
They're
that
aware of it.
they're aware, they're happy they have a seat at the table and we're including them so that they can plan as it comes. But at this point, they can't. They have nothing that they could add as how they're going to tackle it to answer any questions because they don't really know until, again, we're in this position where we don't even know what's going to happen until we sign an agreement. So once things start moving, then they'll know, and then the agencies that they employ to help them plan can then take those things into consideration and then provide them with some
Able to develop
answers.
a better
Yeah,
idea
but at
of
this
what's
point,
going on.
they will be
Okay.
shooting.
And I gotta admit, I'm a little technologically
No, it's fine. Yeah.
challenged at times, and I don't have access to everything that's going on here.
Sure.
But my letter did indicate that, just for the record, I am for this project. Not against it at all. But the other thing I did end the letter with was that, please, don't try to rush this thing. It's just way too big of a project that, we've never. I think we had this discussion that it's just something the size that we've never seen before.
Well, to give you some assurance there. I mean, they've been working on it for almost 2 years now. We've been in the discussion for 6 months at least,
Okay.
and I think this is the 4th time we've continued the public hearing now.
First hearing was back in February, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
So first hearing was back in February. So this is the 4th or 5th time we. So by no means, and we don't even have a development agreement because we are taking our time to go through each line to
Right.
ensure that we get
Right.
everything for the township that we think should be before we approve this
Right.
development for them to do.
I don't
So,
And I appreciate the understanding. And I always get this. Is it PUD?
yeah,
It's an
FPUD, yeah.
FPUD.
Yeah, the explanation of how that works as opposed to just throwing 1,300 houses out there, with no say on it at all. So I appreciate understanding that and bringing that, to the forefront, because even though I've been in the construction business for a long time, I've never been on this end of it,
Yeah, right.
where, it's down here from the ground up. We always get it where the 2x4s are on the
Right.
side. All we ever really know. But just knowing that I have seen many projects in a much smaller scale hurried
Mm-hmm.
for one reason or another. There's always a timeline. There's a money crunch. There's a reason. There's always something. We got to get this thing moving, and it has to move. And they're kind of reckless when they move forward with that sort of thing. And the one thing I really appreciate is the fact that we're taking this very slowly. If it happens in another year, it happens in another year, but it'll be done right.
And I'll mention too,
So-
the development team, they might have a timeline, they might have a money crunch, but that has no bearing on the process we're going through at all.
We're in no
So,
hurry.
yeah.
It doesn't, well, we would love to see this amazing, what we view as, I think, if it comes to fruition the way we see that they're going to do it,
Mhm.
it's going to be, I think, a great thing once it's done the way it is. But we're not in a hurry to have it done. So by no means are we going to rush anything through, because if it gets done, like you said, if it takes a year, that does, it's no,
Yeah.
they want it done faster, but
Right.
it's nothing.
30 years from now, it won't
Right.
matter if they,
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter.
Right.
if
So
they
we're in
start.
no rush. We want to help.
Okay, those are
but-
most of my concerns. Thank you for
All
your time. I appreciate it. I'll try to be a little more prepared next time.
Oh, you're
And,
fine.
you guys have a good day.
Hey,
Thank
thanks.
you.
All right. Yes.
Hi, I'm Karen Breedlove, 1105 Dalton Drive, Painesville Township. I live at the very last house, my husband and I, on Painesville Township, and a lot of the people in this room that have spoken already, I grew up next door to Mr. Wheeler, so there's that. Previously on Arlington as a little child, growing up then on Country Lane, and now on Dalton. So I've traveled the whole distance of about 3/4 of a mile from where I was born.
I've only gone a half a mile.
I know exactly where you live, mister. Been to your house and parties in the neighborhood many, many times over on Country Lane and Dunbar. It's a great community. I come here before you to thank you, gentlemen, and Holly as well, for taking your time, using some foresight, taking things under consideration, returning phone calls, reading letters, those types of things. As you might be able to tell, I've been in Florida.
Mhm.
My husband hates Ohio winters, so we escape.
That makes 2 of us.
And so I had to submit my letters and our concerns in writing to you. And I appreciate you all taking the time to look at them, to read them, to make a phone call, several phone calls to me to discuss them. That being said, I would ask that you continue this forum in the open and friendly manner in which it's been engaged so far. I've had calls from the press. I know you've had calls from the press. Not only am I a longtime resident, I'm also a realtor. So I have a very vested interest in what happens in our backyard. Again, I commend you. I thank you for your time. It's going to be a long and difficult process. Not everyone will be happy, but that's the point of a negotiation.
Right.
I'm excited for what can happen with the township here. Give us a sense of a community, a potential town center. I think it will impact our property values if done correctly in a tremendously positive way, and bring a lot of amenities to our area that people are sorely lacking and are voicing concerns about. We have a wonderful little gem here in the township, a wonderful gem. And I get calls from all over the country about relocating here. So kudos. Let's keep the momentum moving forward. Let's stay positively engaged. Let's keep the public forum open and not contentious. And you have a lot on your plate. Best of luck in moving forward with that. I appreciate your time.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Ellen Abel, 50 Barley Drive, Painesville Township, Ohio. I've got some old business and some new business. The old business, when we were talking about some of the things that need to be done before they get to, with this development, they also have to have a stormwater survey and wetlands assessment before they even think about digging the first ditch. One of the other ones that I didn't ask the last time was, is the township or is the HOA responsible for snow removal in this development?
Well, the public roads township will be responsible. The private roads and whatever developments they have, the HOAs for that portion or POS will be responsible. So these people will be paying tax levies just as you and I do. So if their house is on a public road, Painesville Township will be responsible for maintaining.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I know they're required to. The fire department is required to assess the fire hydrants and whatnot, the infrastructure, within the HOA. It's not something they do. The other thing I forgot to ask with this town center that was brought up at the last meeting, who's paying for the town center, and is there an estimated cost?
Not at this time. It's conceptual.
We know it's a building.
Not
No.
necessarily. No.
Well, at the last meeting, we said yes.
Well,
When I said
building
a building,
possibly for a fire station. For the town center portion would be more playground, possible amphitheater, and maybe, but again, this all depends on how much land we get, those type of things. Possibly some administrative offices, but that is nothing that's in concrete. It's all conceptual at this point. We don't even know how much or what property we're getting. So all of those are, again, premature discussions because we don't even know how much land we're getting for that town center.
Well, I know that, but
So without knowing that, we can't even say definitively what we anticipate going there. And then once time comes, we love to look for free money in the way of grants. So depending on what we decide to build, our first goal is going to be to find a way to pay for it without using taxpayer levy
as a
dollars.
taxpayer, I'm very happy to hear those words.
And so there is no plan of here's what we want to do.
Yeah, we don't even.
On the public.
Because I had asked, is this a building? Is this just going to be green space? Is this just, and basically the answer from you, Mr. Cicconetti, was yes. And I forgot to ask where the money was coming, which pocket the money was coming from. The other thing, which is unrelated to this development, is several meetings ago we talked about hiring additional deputies for road patrol. And I guess it was available through a county grant. Has that been done? Because I've been to the commissioners' meetings, and they said they were currently hiring for not road patrol, but filling other vacancies and hadn't gotten to that.
Well, they have a multitude of vacancies to fill, and some of them are road patrol, but Sergeant here could probably give you an idea of what they've been able to fill thus far. And
my concern is, were we using American
Rescue Act?
Yes, some of it.
Okay, what happens if, since they're getting rid of all the COVID?
Well, the money's already allocated. It has nothing to do with the emergency ending. We've already been allocated.
Somewhere where we might have to actually give it back if it's not used before a certain date.
Well, that's correct. They said they have an end date of when we have to use it by end of fiscal year 2026, I believe, has to be expended.
I wasn't sure if it was going to disappear like some of Medicaid's disappearing.
No, you'd have to spend it by a certain time. So that's
Okay.
at this point. That's why we're working with the county to try to see what can get paid for to help continue that when those funds are expended.
Okay. The only other thing is new business. So
If you're here,
I think you're the last. Unless did no. Okay,
okay, new business.
we're on new business.
Since we are the home of the solid waste facility, is there any way to make the newsletters more environmentally friendly? I've been a
We're
member.
cutting it down to 2 digital. We're going digital except for 2 a year. So we've cut our newsletters in half. I don't know if that can be more environmentally friendly than that. But
so instead of
using-
mailing,
instead of mailing 4, we're mailing.
Let
We're
her
printing and
talk.
mailing
Let
2.
her talk.
I
Hang on a second.
understand that, but I've been on the solid waste policy board now for in January it was 23 years. Yeah, well, the last time we met, you came on by phone, and while we were meeting in the glossy things are not recyclable, and I was suggesting that we go back to the old newsletter because it's and maybe use a paper stock that has been recycled as opposed to the glossy pretty. And I suggested this even to the county commissioners because they like the glossy stuff too. But since we are the home of the landfill, it behooves us to do whatever we can to extend the natural life of this landfill. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Lake County Sheriff's Office.
For the month of March 2023, the Sheriff's Office took care of 1,285 calls for service. Of those calls for service, 4 were injury accidents, 11 were property damage accidents. We arrested an adult male for wanton warrants and resisting arrest, an adult female for OVI, an adult male for public indecency at the Giant Eagle, an adult male for possession of drugs, paraphernalia, tampering with evidence, an adult male for public indecency, no trespassing order at Headland State Park, an adult female for assault, first-degree misdemeanor, 2 adult males for domestic violence, an adult male for domestic violence and threatening a family member with a knife. 2 warrant arrests came out of those, and then 6 additional warrant arrests were recorded from various traffic stops and other means of proactive enforcement. 35 alarms, 28 traffic violation citations, 187 warnings for traffic violations, 37 welfare checks, requested welfare checks of citizens within the township, 34 traffic complaints, 67 suspicious circumstances, vehicles, and persons. During the month, we had a vandalism of Church on Park Road with spray paint, and then also in April actually, just right after the month flipped, we had a B&E of the same church, but we arrested 2 juveniles in that B&E. They were runaways from the Cayley home, which is on Riverside Drive, which is actually in Painesville City, but they fled from that location, and we believe both those the spray painting may coincide with the B&E, but we're still looking into that. But regardless, they've been charged with the B&E. Also, there was a paintball incident on Fairport Nursery Road in Oakwood, but there's no suspects in that at that time. That concludes my report for today. Do you guys have any questions or concerns?
Just for the record, as we discussed, there will be additional patrols in the areas of road construction.
Absolutely, yes.
Because there will be vehicles to give extra caution to vehicles that are parked outside their normal driveway. So
absolutely, and I did get that out to the road patrol. And as far as for breaking and enterings into vehicles, there's 0.
Okay, good. And real quick, May 24th, I'll be hosting with Lake County Sheriff's Office and Lake County Narcotics Agency for parents of the Riverside District at the school at 7 p.m. Sort of a drug education with social media and other things that parents may not know their kids are facing with some of the drug epidemics we have going on right now. So
Yes, we are looking forward to that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Service Department.
So our road construction program started yesterday. The OPWC project, Foxfire, Wanderlust, Pine Meadow, Bannerstone area. We were able to work with the contractor to get a more favorable timeline for the amount of time the residents are going to have to be out of their driveways. It's unavoidable with this kind of project. There are going to have to be some restrictions to the driveways, but we think we've come up with something that's going to work for the contractor and for the residents. The sidewalk project is slated to start next Monday, and that's also in the Bohall Road area, so there's going to be a lot of construction going on at the same time. There are some detours posted for the Foxfire project.
What's the timeline for the sidewalk? Do they have one?
Yeah, it's 2 months.
2 months. Okay.
And again, the contractor will work with the residents while they have to be out of their driveways while we work on that. And then the asphalt portion of our road work will start toward the end of May. So there'll be more updates with that as we get closer.
Great.
Thanks. Fire chief.
No report.
No report. Zoning.
Nothing this time.
Legal.
No report.
Administrator.
Nothing additional.
Okay, fiscal officer.
I don't have anything today.
Okay, we already did number 1. So number 2, I need a motion to request a resolution to approve the payment of Rose of Sharon Fence Supply Ltd. in the amount of $3,521.83 for a new fence at Station 2.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Discussion.
Yes.
So don't you still need to read the first one as a continuing? Or
Already did
no?
that.
Let it go.
Already did.
We already did it.
Oh, be prior? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I second and go ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to request a resolution to approve payment to Morton Salt in the amount of $32,945.87 for road salt.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I need a motion to request a resolution to approve payment to Lake County Department of Utilities in the amount of $4,904.02 for the Bull Hall Sidewalk project.
So moved.
Second discussion, just point of clarification, that will be paid for by the grant for the sidewalk project.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Need a motion to request a resolution to approve the payment of Provision in the amount of $3,581.90 for the Township newsletter.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I need a motion to request a resolution appointing Eric Burchak to the position of Assistant Fire Chief effective April 24, 2023. Salary will be $106,000 per year.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And real quick, just to add for the newsletter, we were doing quarterly. If you are on email, we're reducing the mailing of the newsletter to twice a year, but we will be sending out a monthly digital newsletter. You can sign up on our website. If you go to our website, right at the bottom, there's a place to put your email. And each month, when we do that newsletter, you'll get the digital copy emailed to you.
No spam.
And no spam. And then we'll still do the probably spring and fall will be the printed version.
Post it on the website too. In case
Yeah,
you don't get
and they're on the
email.
websites. The quarterlies aren't though, but just the just the prints are on the news, or the quarterlies on the news.
You mean the monthlies?
The monthlies rather.
They will be.
They will
There'll
be as
link
well.
to them on there
Okay,
as well.
great. Anything else? Okay, motion adjourned at 11:41.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.